Hey, how's it going? As you guys can see, it's very late here. It's very dark. Shout out to Tracy on Discord for letting us know that there's a new correspondence from Sarah Boone to Judge Kranick, and it is 28 pages long. And you're just thinking, what could she be putting in 28 pages long? Is it just her attacking everyone again, attacking the judge? Well, she for sure does attack the judge. In the correspondence, she includes the full statement that she wanted to read at sentencing. You guys remember she said that it was the tip of the tip of the tip of the iceberg. Like, oh, what I'm going to read today, it's at the tip of the iceberg. And, I wanted to include more, but I was told not to. Probably because Mr. James Owens looked at it and was like, Sarah Boone, let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this, that. And it was already quite long. So a lot of us were curious, I wonder what the original statement was, because what she said in court, it was pretty bad. It was her attacking the victim, George Torres, attacking his family members, attacking the media, attacking social media, attacking the judge. And wait, did she attack the judge? I think she sort of attacked the judge. But now we get a full attack of the judge, all the prior attorneys that she worked with. And again, don't forget that at the end, while she's attacking you, she says, I forgive you. Yeah, I forgive you for being a piece of shit, for exploiting me, for being an asshole, blah, blah, blah. It's like, are you really forgiving, or are you trying to guise your forgiveness? Are you trying to guise your aggressiveness as an apology? It's like, are you really forgiving people, or you just really want to attack them, but you want to make it seem like you're a good person? Be like, oh, but I forgive you. Yeah, that's Sarah Boone. I don't know. Something's not right with her. She calls out so many people for everything, anything that she can. But in the meantime, she just refuses to acknowledge that her actions led to killing George, that she murdered George. Anyways, let's get to the letter. It is 28 pages, and she uses a lot of there's a lot of spacing in between, so it's 28 pages, but it's not too bad. There's a lot of paragraphs in here. I haven't read it yet. I read the first 2 or 3 pages, and I was like, I'll do it tomorrow, because I was going to just stick it in tomorrow's live stream when we cover Karen Reed and we cover Corey Richins, but because tomorrow's live stream might be really long, I was like, maybe I'll just do the Sarah Boone letter right now. And that way, tomorrow we can really focus on Corey Richins and Karen Reed. Anyways, let's get to the letter. December 6, 2024. Mr. Michael Kranick. Ooh, not even a Judge Kranick. Not even the honorable title. I am enclosing, please, my complete statement to you and the world as I partially read during my sentencing hearing. By my reserving particular parts of my very true and meaningful statement, I was hoping to have been graced with your forgiveness, understanding, and consideration in any level or degree. For me, unfortunately, and regardless of when I had speak on my behalf or the number of, your ignorant mind was already made up. Damn, calling the judge ignorant. A lot of us really like Judge Kranick. We thought he was very fair and he was very patient when dealing with Sarah Boone. Of course, is she going to see it that way? Nope. You can see, or you can probably read it, that there's a lot of ire in her tone right here. It's like, oh, I thought you were going to forgive me. I thought you were going to be understanding. How dare you already make up your mind and give me life in prison? Maybe she thought Kranick would have some sympathy for her. By your clear error and full-blown unfair bias against me since your involvement in my crucible case as a whole, I have been unsuccessful in receiving anything from you as a supposed fair and neutral judge, except for your wish that I spend the rest of my life in prison. Remember, it's not just Judge Kranick that's corrupt. It's also the other previous judge, Judge Wooten. Please know and always remember, Mr. Kranick, I forgive you. Again, addressing Mr. Kranick instead of Judge Kranick. Still and sincerely, please understand also the judge, according to Cicero, is never to lose sight that he is simply a man and that he cannot exceed the power given to him by his commission that not only prove but public confidence has been given to him that he ought always rely seriously to attend not to his wishes, but to the requisitions of the law, of justice, and religion. I think Judge Craddock did a really good job at that. I really do. I'm excited in my appeal, which speaks for itself. My case law as well, in which I am extremely proud to have achieved, and will continue doing so now that I am no longer in your corrupt court and free from your malevolent judicial grip. All right, that's the judge. Sarah Boone v. State of Florida. I've also, more to the judge, I've also added to my statement as a result of your blindness and impartiality, foremost, you're disgusting me as being an outspoken woman, determined defendant, and proactive client, hoping the next time you put on your listening ears and do not unfairly oppress the next as you have so blatantly done me. You will never admit in your many judicial errors, nor were the prosecutors theirs, and I will never admit to you what you have wrongly accused me of and judge me as. Yeah, don't worry, Sarah, we already know that. We know that you were never going to admit what you did to George. She writes this with an underline. I am not a murderer. I am a survivor. Sarah Boone. All right, so we're going to get some quotes here. She likes having quotes. She likes having definitions. This is very classic Sarah Boone letter stuff. Black robe disease, arrogance in a judge, a slang term for a judge who flaunts judicial power and dominates proceedings at the expense of a dispensation of justice. Impartiality is the first duty of a judge before he gives an opinion or sits in judgment in a cause. He ought to be certain and absolute that he has no bias for or against either of the parties. If he has any interest, even in the slightest, in the cause, he is disqualified from sitting as a judge, and when aware of such interest, ought to lawfully and justly refuse to sit on a case. The delicacy which characterizes the judge in this country generally forbids their sitting in such cause. The judge must not only be impartial, but must also follow and properly enforce the law, not abuse. He is bound to declare what law is and not make it. Be not an arbiter, but also an interpreter of the law. It is their duty to be patient in the investigation of the case, understand circumstances and difficulties by all parties, carefully in considering parts of the case in a whole, and decent in judgment. This is a Law Dictionary, 2012 edition. Dude, I think she was super pissed. Because remember what Mr. Owen says? Mr. Owen says that he said after the sentencing, Sarah Boone turned to him and was like, can you believe I got a life sentence? Man, that really got at her. That really got at her. I think she was very offended because maybe she thought that she would be able to trick everyone, the judge, into, either a not guilty verdict or just getting a lighter sentence, not life. All right, so we have some other quotes. We got this from a Simpson trial, 1996, from Murray Richtel, not too sure, Richtel. But at the risk of practicing judicial centricism, a word I have coined in this presentation, others have called it black robe disease. Whether he was correct or not in my behavior, it is widely accepted that judicial behavior affects the jury. Here's one from Lynn Tolan, A Practical Guide to Becoming an Emotional Genius. Oh, is she reading this book? And there is the worst of judicial ailments, the black robe disease, which is otherwise known as arrogance. I wonder if she had her friends research this for her. Here's one, Carlisle v. United States from 1996. Trial judges are affirmatively charged with securing a fair trial and must intervene sua sponte to that end when necessary. Brown v. Water. Oh, sorry. We have two quotes here. That duty encompasses not only the avoidance of error before it occurs, but the fair correction of error that may have occurred earlier in a proceeding. Carlisle v. United States. Here's one from, I cannot read that. What does that say? Alertia versus United States. I'm not familiar with that. 1933. In the instant case, the trial judge did not analyze the evidence. He added to it, dealing with the mere mannerism of the accused in giving his testimony. The judge puts his own experience with all the weight that could be attached to it in the scale against the accused. All right, so this is where we start with the statement where she was supposed to read the whole thing to the judge, and I'm sure Mr. Owens was like, hell no, you better take out some of the stuff out of here. Although I can't imagine Mr. Owens being happy with Sarah Boone. I know he's not representing her anymore. He probably doesn't give a fuck at this point, but probably not a good thing because she's awaiting appeal. What if she does get a new trial? And I think Owen says if she does get a new trial, he would be willing to represent her. But I mean, I feel like, wait and see. Just wait a little bit. It's like she couldn't stand to just wait a little bit for the appeal process to happen, whether or not she's going to get a new trial. I don't think so, but maybe she will. It's like she just couldn't help herself and be patient. She just wanted to get her words out there. She wanted to make sure she had the last word, I guess. Gotta get it out there. Kinutsu, I don't know how to pronounce this, but I'm pretty sure when we looked up this ceramic Japanese method with the, repair with gold, I could have sworn it was called something else, but we'll go with Sarah Boone. Kintsu kuroi is a kind of Japanese ceramic, which means to repair with gold. In this tradition, when a ceramic piece breaks, an artisan will fuse the pieces back together again using liquid gold or gold dust lacquer. So rather than being covered up, the breaks become more obvious and a brilliant new piece of art emerges from the brokenness. Sarah Boone claims that she is this Japanese traditional ceramic. It embraces flaws, weaknesses, and imperfections, and also teaches the essence of resilience. Every crack in the ceramic piece is part of its history, and each piece becomes more beautiful because it has been broken. This is the wisdom of Kitsu Kuroi. In my wisdom, and with all the repairs then, now, and ongoing, God has been, and will always be my artisan. All of my gold is forgiveness. This has held me together, made me shine brighter. I don't know about that. And overcome the damage caused by George Torres, the Torres family, the justice system. Here comes the blame. Oh, she did attack the judge. Okay. Judge Wooden, Judge Cranick, Orange County Corrections. I don't think she mentioned Judge Wooden, Judge Cranick in the original sentencing statement. Social media, scoundrel detectives, infamy, defamation, ongoing constitutional rights violations, second-degree murder, and forced into being pro se. Just as gold is very precious, forgiveness is invaluable. Sleep because I had to go to work, or my sons feel, I think might be a page. Oh, page 2. Was this not scanned in order? Page 1, page 3. Here's page 2. Okay. Forgiveness is not an attempt to change or forget who, what, or how you've lived through to be so gold, but an act of grace, humility, and considerable self-compassion to be set free from sorrow. Withholding forgiveness denies your brilliance and adds your even greater grief. I don't think she truly understands what forgiveness means. Just because you say you forgive someone doesn't mean you forgive them. She says that she forgives them, but deep down inside, you can tell it's very overt to the rest of us that she doesn't forgive them. She doesn't forgive anyone. She's got a lot of resentment, a lot of hatred in her heart, and that is still seeping out to this very day. You can try to fool yourself, Sarah Boone, but you're not fooling the rest of us. It would be nice if she truly did change. I think it'd be great if she changed. Withholding forgiveness denies your brilliance. It adds even greater grief and deep heartache. Irreparable cracks on the top of the already that no one deserves, no matter the pain or disappointment, untruth or injustice. It doesn't matter, as the more broken you are, even though now, different than before, you become more outstanding and more extraordinary. Above all, when you let go of blame, misunderstandings, excuses, give up your anger and cease from resentment, this is forgiveness. She's got the definition right there. Are you not taking it in? And when you forgive, you heal. And when you heal, you move forward. My gold begins with George Torres, and every time he slapped, kick, punch, spit, R-worded, stab, choke, laughed at, push, pulled, drag, whipped, tripped, stole from, lied, terrorized, threatened, humiliated, forced, degraded, and made me cry. Every time he tried to end me, defeat, or destroy. So I remember when I heard this the first time, she was like talking about forgiveness, and then she just goes straight into, well, let me remind you all the shitty things that George allegedly did to me. I forgive George for beating me senseless, for trying to sleep because I had to go to work on my son's field trip the next day, for ruining my deceased family's heirlooms, traditions, and keepsakes, my son's furniture, destroying the television we watched together, for wrecking our townhome by breaking the windows, punching holes in the walls and doors, ramming his body into the glass doors, kicking my front and back door over and over and over, For breaking or removing the locks from all the doors and sometimes the knobs altogether, so I had nowhere to feel safe, including the sacred space of my son's room where he beat me bloody on his bed. For terrorizing and threatening my blind and deaf dogs by leaving the gate open, I built to keep them safe, telling me he hoped I'd find the bloated bodies in the pond, or scrap the remains off the pavement, or kicking them off the bed, or throwing across the room because they were trying to protect me. For threatening to make me unrecognizable to my son by breaking all the bones in my face like his brother Moses did to him after he kept seeing all the bruises from George beating me, like all the times their father beat their mother. Yep, she had to make sure to mention that. For all the drunken rages, fistfights with so many neighbors when wandering into their apartment during hunting expeditions after I escaped, for drowning me in liquor and wine because I didn't want to drink. That's what she said on the day of the murder. She's like, oh, I didn't want to drink. I only drink because I wanted to appease them. Meanwhile, everyone said, no, Sarah Boone was an alcoholic. That she was always fucking drunk. Causing me to urinate all over myself, then butting the end of the bottle in my face, giving me 2 black eyes and a bloody nose. For making me experience what it is to be sodomized, threatening to kill my friends and neighbors when they checked on me to make sure I was alive and in one piece. For threatening to burn down our town home and set my car on fire because I got a job. For holding me hostage on weekends, my sons was supposed to come over by keeping my keys around his neck, my phone in his crotch, and a butcher knife stuck in the middle of the table as a warning not to ask anything or try to leave. For stabbing me in the leg and not telling me to call 911 for an ambulance or seek help, where I nearly bled to death until I concocted a lie to save him before from being arrested. For destroying my phone with a hammer because my son called. For experiencing ever being arrested and after today, prison. Ooh, she blames George for being arrested. She blames George for being in prison. Not her actions. For beating me almost blind, crushing my occipital lobe. For having me experience what it means to see stars, like in the cartoons where the character has a tall lump on their head. I had that too many times. Dragging me downstairs by my hair in the middle of the night just to sit next to him. For taking my car, driving drunk with my debit card to buy more alcohol while I slept, even after I kindly explained the importance of my car to my son, to school, foremost, me to work, and he to his batterer's invention classes and probation officer meeting, where I would be forced to sit for hours in the parking lot and wait for him. So again, she is listing out everything because she wants the jury to know what a mistake it was that they made in finding her guilty, and for the world thinking that she's guilty. It's like, let me just tell you guys everything so you can feel bad about your decision. For causing me so much trauma and pain, mentally, physically, emotionally, I had to be hospitalized more than once. For destroying my reputation and integrity, for my M for murderer scarlet letter, not letting me feel safe to live, talk to other people, spend time with my son, have a job, friendships, simply go to the bathroom with the door closed, or go to sleep soundly or comfortably. I forgive George for lying, for him trying so many times to end me with his terrifying love. And don't worry, we'll get into the attack of the attorney soon. I also forgive the Torres family, his mother, father foremost, and also his 2 ex-wives and daughters, all for knowing who George was capable of and has done in the past, his history of violence and where he learned it. Then to keep turning a blind eye when I would ask for help. All of his siblings, including Farrell Torres, who is now on his way to prison for stabbing the mother of their baby in the side of the head. See all the outlines, the underlines here. It's like, I need to make sure like this, they need to know about this. This is where George learned it from. His family was violent as well. He learned it from his dad, doing it to his mom, just like, this is like, she's like, gotta make sure I read all this. For everyone who knew what George was doing to me, sometimes how and when, but allowed and enabled, I forgive them for caring too late. Yeah, so much condescension. I hope they all ask themselves while quiet and uncomfortable in bed at night, the uneasy question, what could I have done to stop this from happening to both of them? And after all the time Sarah tried by asking for help from all of us, from out of us, and so many times, I don't know what that says. Yeah, it's like, guys, you guys didn't, I'm the victim. You guys fucked up here. God, she's so good at playing victim. Another great contributor of my gold is social media with its greed and sensitivity. deception, obvious exploitation, and advantageous gain from my criminal case as a whole, and for sentencing me by anticipating as a result of my ignorance and have conjured and fabricated by the organized crime that is social media, which condemned me in the court of global public opinion since the beginning. My family law case is the new prey, waiting to be picked apart and pillaged from me being made infamous by social media in my criminal case. It simply seems I cannot forgive and be forgiven and move forward. It's hard to forgive when you yourself have not shown that you've changed. But yeah, what is going on with her family law stuff? I heard it's like pending, right? I think she's trying to get child support and alimony from her husband, even though she is still incarcerated and it's going to be for the rest of her life. Social media has made me a pariah. It's caused me great oppression and undeniable disadvantages, especially by broadcasting and manipulating my cases online. In my criminal case, as a result, my opportunities to be given a fair, proper, and uninfluenced, successful conclusion was heavily depleted and poisoned. I forgive them. Do you? Also, all the media tycoons for not having a life of their own, trying so desperately to make themselves seem so right by making me appear so wrong. No, you've just been in the wrong many times. We don't need to appear to make you seem wrong. Oh, where was I? Forgiveness for prejudgment, ridiculous theatrics, lies, making and faking blood money or taking blood money from my and others' misfortunes, accidents, and catastrophes. It's all over their hands and the keyboards. And even after all that's been said and done, theorized, hypothesized, scrutinized, blasphemized in my case, still no one knows me. You do a really good job at showing your true self, though. My gold also runs deep for my prior attorneys. Oh, here we go. Mauricio Padilla. This is the first attorney that represented her. He was a private attorney for about 2 years. And then right before the trial, he withdrew. He was like, I'm not doing this case anymore. He cited irreconcilable differences. And yeah, he was the attorney for 2 years. All right, what did Mr. Padilla do? Sold me to the world with empty promises and abandoned his responsibilities as my attorney after taking 2.5 years of my life when finally realizing he was in over his head, all while hoarding JAC dollars to fund his staycations with his family. Went in town from Miami for having resources ready and available, not allowing me, the client, to ever utilize, which could have greatly progressed my case and perhaps concluded only for him to decide water parks, fine dining, and choice hotels were more important and on the JAC's dime. JAC was paying for Mr. Padilla? I didn't see anything about that. I forgive Frank Bankowitz for committing perjury to the judge and on court record about my attempts to be a proactive defendant and client, inquiring about my discovery, then trying to communicate with no answers, correspondence in any manner for 1 full year, 2 months before I was able to finally meet with him in the courtroom, only to receive his motion to withdraw. Frank J. Bankowitz is forgiven for his greed in taking $15,000 from the JAC, who honorably aid indigent defendants as myself, for taking advantage of and robbing the justice system by lying and avoiding clients, taking their money and the JACs. Here comes Mr. Hobson. Winston Hobson receives my forgiveness, who also unethically perjured himself to the judge, and on court record about all the progress and attorney work he did in my case for the 2 months he was court appointed as, for his allegations of my supposed unethical requests, which meant me asking my new discovery and trying to have him file a motion for my lawful inclusion to my pretrial conference cited under FRCP Discovery Rule 3.220. I wanted to be included in my case and no progress from being excluded by Bankowitz and Padilla for over 3 years prior. Forgiveness also in telling me he would return in a week with my discovery, only to receive his motion to withdraw in the meantime. Still not receiving my discovery, and I filing my own motion, enabling me to go to all my hearings, including my pre-trials. Yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you really think she's forgiving everyone? Continued forgiveness in his greed and selfish intentions, also robbing the JAC indigent defendants of $15,000 more for nothing, justifying any work he really did do in the handful of the days he represented me as an attorney. Finally, With all my gold received from this one, I forgive Patricia A. Cashman for her mean, snotty, egotistical attitude and not listening or caring that I finally received my discovery. I kept asking for her, which she fully withheld from me, citing her ridiculous, untrue reasons was because I saw with my first attorney 4 years prior, and while she being, God, dude, this person really knows how to hold a grudge. Holy shit. Man, she's been holding this all in for so long. She's like, you know what? Fuck it. Fuck it. I already got life. Fuck it. But no, it's like, come on now. You still got your appeal. Should wait it out a little bit. I saw my first attorney 4 years prior while she was being my president at that time attorney. I saw not one page or of any digital evidence of my discovery she prohibited me from seeing. Patricia A. Cashman is also forgiven for admitting I had a right to a bond I asked her for, so I could actually utilize one of my rights as opposed to having them always violated as prior and still ongoing. Then her deterrence of all the opportunities to do so. For all her lies, condescension, gross unnecessary arguments, and anger that I asked any questions and wanted to understand, for her doing nothing other than give me an even harder time and request transcripts than brazenly lie for over $16,000 for doing so, and also from the precious resources provided from the JAC. I forgive Patricia A. Cashman for being a liar and a bully. Yeah, you don't forgive her. I do remember that she was trying to make an argument that Patricia Cashman lied to her brother about, being out on bond. And Judge Kraynick was really honing in on that. I was like, what do you mean? And he was going back and forth. See, the thing with Sarah Boone is that when there is a two-way communication between her and someone else, and they are pushing her, like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? It's usually between her and the judge, right? Sarah Boone usually ends up looking pretty fucking stupid. However, when she's writing these letters, I think this is the format that she prefers because she can just write this unfettered without any interruptions, without any interrogation by anyone. She just gets to write it all out. And it's like, okay, well, no one's going to interrogate me afterwards. Oh my goodness. Hello. Forgiveness for all those who did not include me to receive my $15,000 share I worked for when Judge Kraynick forced me. Oh my God. No. She's saying like, well, if I had to represent myself, then I get my $15,000 share. Where is my money? Oh my goodness. Oh, I wonder if she tried to ask Mr. Owens. So Owens, like I work pro se. Do I also get $15,000? Oh, I don't. But can you just put in a motion asking that I get $15,000? Like I wouldn't be surprised if she asked Owens to do that. Oh, poor Mr. Owens. All right. Forgiveness for all those who did not include me to receive my $15,000 share I worked for when Judge Kraynick forced me to be my own attorney to represent myself as pro se. I actually finally got my own discovery almost 5 years later, filed motions all prior, should have done, making them the most expensive motions even at over $46,000 between 3 prior attorneys. Frank J. Bankowitz, again, let's name them all again just to remind the world. Walter E. Hobson, Patricia A. Cashman. Would they have done so when they supposedly were representing me? The motions would have been priceless for the papers' proper use of the JAC funds toward ethics, professionalism, honesty, and freedom, all underlined. I honorably utilized my JAC resource and mentorship as a proactive indigent defendant, avidly defending myself against the liars, thieves, and the real villains in my criminal case. Who really is the criminal? Still you. The JAC can hopefully include their forgiveness for them also. Mm-hmm. Okay, hero to the judges, dude. She's got so much anger. Oh my gosh. Oh man, so much anger. Judge Wooden and Kraynick, I have great forgiveness for also in not protecting me in listening to my valid request for judicial intervention so I could properly and fairly defend myself against my charges. Instead, I had to defend myself against the attorneys all appointed by the judge, the court, against their lies and exaggerations, reasons unjustifiable why they were really creeping away from the battlefield and abandoning their professional duty as my attorney. Jesus. All right, we're almost there. Judge Kraynick, I forgive you for not giving me any opportunity to stand at your pulpit, to stand at all, to explain the real, truthful side of my story. But you did go up there. You testified. I believe if the justice system, including yourself, would and should have done any vital homework on the already almost see-through attorneys from being spread so thin and simply sending an email to care about their present workload, number of clients, trial schedules already in place before throwing another inmate defendant unknowingly client on the heaping unimportant pile of warm bodies. More for taxpayer dollars could be conserved, less time consumed and wasted for everyone. Regardless of what part they play in the supposed system of justice, my forgiveness is deepened for taking even greater time of mine away years. I don't know what this says. By not caring to ask me anything about anything to understand, so you could justfully render your life-defining judgments and withhold any more bias and prejudice. Oh, man. Foremost, Judge Cranick, I forgive you for kicking me when I was down and choking the life out of my constitutional amendments. Oh, she's so good at exaggerating. Most profoundly, my sixth right to counsel as a result of my wholehearted case of my first right to free speech in being my own advocate, since no one else would be and receive a paycheck for. And all of my free speech experience driven letters only for remedy in any collaboration inclusion, receiving my discovery as an inmate, defendant, and client, not removal of any of attorneys to cause here delays or any reason or excuse you may try to force on me and have already inappropriately accused me of doing prior to your heavily insinuated strategies of mine to try to deflect the glaring red flags, disappointments, and the true crime in of the justice system. All right, we're almost there. To this day and all forward, I do not forfeit my rights, all of them, any of them ever, especially my right to be bold, outspoken, and right in the real life experience with the legal and justice systems. You weren't there, Judge Cranick, in anything, no meetings, phone calls, visits, and still took my rights and oppressed harder. I must now defend myself against you, praying you do not care to late as all the others and retaliate, right? Further, against me, as I am still a proud citizen of the United States, of my America, this is my America, oh God. And freely, excitedly using my God-given rights to still try and defend myself, to stand all the way up for you to remove my freedom altogether by allowing and approving my stab wound, bloody body parts, our words, bombs, bruises, and all the rest of the beatings I endured. I hope you can finally see and understand just some of the pain from the extreme difficulties, obstacles, unfairness, especially in my due process you have added in my criminal case and life as an inmate, defendant, and client. All is forgiven. I feel like this is like, with Sarah Boone, it's like, just when you can't think it gets worse, it really does with her. Like, it just really does get worse. I feel like with all the letters that we've written, the trial happening, all the stuff that we learned from the trial, her at sentencing, it's like, okay, that was like pretty fucking bad. And it kept getting worse. And it's just like, okay, that's about it. And then we get this fucking letter. Yeah. We don't need her out here. Let her be in prison. We don't need her out here. For Detective, oh, here comes the detectives. For Detective Kepsel and Lowe and I forgive their demonization, lies, blacklisting, coercion, law breaking, solicitation of my case before I even arrive at the corrections department to be booked and fingerprinted. This can be seen in my unbeknownst interrogation video, whereas what they are doing, what all the pinging was during their texting swarm, while I naively sit there waiting to be arrested, which they all knew would happen the day before. For Kepsel, for a bald face lying on the stand with the judge in court on record, she didn't tell me to come to the station to pick up my phone. Why else would I go? I didn't even know about the surprise interrogation. I forgive them for also lying how the news showed up to record my walk of shame. Handcuffed and confused on camera. I forgive them for trying to make me lose from the beginning and starting the unquenchable wildfire of sensationalism and distortion, ignorant hate, defamation, greed by unlawfully broadcasting who they wanted the world to think I was by their schemes, learned lessons, and fraudulent stratagems from the school of manipulation and fake advantage. Dude, she is big mad. How much did they make off me and still are for calling it in, then removing the curtain to expose their personally twisted murdering monster? I don't know. She doesn't get it. She still doesn't think that the world really did not like her because of who she was, who she showed herself to be in those interrogation videos and the body cam. She doesn't understand. She's like, I don't know. It's so hard to get in her head. She's like, they saw me, yeah, but they're hating me not because of me. They're hating me because you showed them these body cams and interrogations. But I don't know. Like, it's like so weird. Oh my God. She's a very draining person. Very draining person. Also, my forgiveness and greater gold comes from wondering why nothing viable in my defense was taken from my townhome. Nothing viable in my defense, okay? AKA the crime scene. To aid in my truth, such as the butcher knife, 5-pronged garden claws, or hammer under the table together outside where George had easy access for use if I tried to leave or call for help, while being held against my will during his rageful binges, or my bloody pillowcase stained from me being backhanded because I hid the magnum-sized bottle of vodka from him. Why weren't any crime scene photos taken of holes patched in the walls and doors? And these were mentioned during when I think Mr. Owens mentioned this when he was cross-examining the crime scene person, because I do remember that. Some doors, missing knobs and locks, doors removed, cracked windows, broken furniture. I think, was this the case where it was like, hey, like if there were holes in the walls, would you have taken pictures of them? Yeah, I would have taken pictures of them. So that to me shows that either they didn't see it or maybe there weren't any holes in the walls or the damages. Or all the lock doors removed, cracked windows, broken furniture, obvious unnatural destruction in my townhome, how and why they were missed, uncared about, or not questioned so I could explain some of my terror. It makes no difference. All is forgiven. Prosecutors. Oh, she keeps saying all is forgiven. That she just keeps going on and on and on. All right, here goes the prosecutors. When is she going to get to us? Oh, we'll probably get the end. It makes no difference. All is forgiven. Prosecutors, Mr. J and Mr. Cacciatore, my forgiveness is also extended for your inappropriate attributive motives, for having to go through years of my pictures, videos, texts to erroneously piece together your deceitful, damning version of what really happened and who I am. Yes, she wasn't happy about that. After so much availability and for so long, you were finally able to make its circle fit into a square. Listen. They showed the world who you were, and she was not happy about that because the image that she wants to project to the world is that I am a victim in this. I am the one who is a good person. I have dogs that I adopted. I took in this George guy, and he was a hot mess. You know, every time when he did something to me, I would always go back out and I would bail him. I was such a good person to him. She wants to be seen as a good person. And when all that is being revealed to the world, when she's being exposed, yeah, she's not happy about that. I forgive your antics, your theatricals, ludicrous comments to make the world got their money's worth while watching with ignorant pitchforks and burning torches, hoping for the best from you, which is my worst. Instead of dropping the mic, Mr. J, you dropped the bat. For the yelling, fingerprinting, and intense underlining to force your theoreticals and fanatics on the jury while using imaginary space adventures and fictional characters, Star Wars, to blind and bedazzle them from your far, far away from the truth dramatization. Okay. In all of your piece together productions, I forgive you most for never seeing the light in people, their human goodness, humor, and big hearts. You wake up to seek out the opposite, to condemn, to take lives in your own way. See the good that does exist in all of us inherently and unforced, even as the proud Mr. J stated, the kick dog that bites. Mr. J, who kicked the dog in the first place? In my wisdom, it's usually best to leave sleeping dogs lie, then they don't bite. Oh, wow, we're going to attack the jury too. Okay, all right. My gold goes out to the jury for not understanding my cracks, from being blinded from the injustice and the malpractice and all the judicial and prosecutorial errors, the very apparent violations of my constitutional rights during my case and entire trial, which caused mass confusion and dysfunction. I forgive the jury truly for being weary from this confusion and dysfunction. Were they confused though? Also, from being hungry and tired and wanting to go home for their families after being away for the full capacity for 2 full weeks, I understand. From this and their brash, misguided, corrupted decision, I was wrongfully judged a murderer instead of a survivor. For this, all is forgiven. For this, I can still survive and stand trial, having an I'm very tired. An even greater, the greatest opportunity to finally be understood in the Supreme Court for my appeal. I didn't lose. God just wanted me to win in a different way. Okay, yeah. If you take it that way, fine with me. Freedom in forgiveness. Wait, who doesn't have freedom here? I don't know. You maybe? In the end, I forgive myself for not choosing my life sooner, for not being more brave, vigilant, bolder, outspoken, stronger, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, for being hopeless, desperate, simple-minded, weak, and inexperienced. I forgive myself for not realizing I was enduring a life of domestic violence and that vicious cycle of never ends. I had nothing to compare to. I've never been hit by a man. Oh my gosh. So all this was the stuff that was taken out, probably by Mr. Owens, because now we're going back to what she did read on the stand. Should we continue reading it? Yeah, I guess we will, because I don't know what else is going to be included and not included. All right, where are we at? I had nothing to compare it to. I've never been hit by a man ever before in my life. I was raised hitting a woman was wrong and should never happen. No excuse. I forgive myself for not escaping permanently, for not fighting back sooner to save myself, my son, my dogs, home and car, and having 20/20 hindsight, thinking of everything I could have done differently or better to avoid the outcome. I think about this every day since. Also, of all the good days we had together, for him at least, while I was constantly in hyperdrive, high alert, paranoid, making sure I did everything right all the time, I knew if not the great possibility I would be so ended as George threatened me with so many times before. I forgive myself for falling in love with a monster, and no matter how grotesque he may become, I still loved him, hoped, and forgave. I tried breaking the spell so he wouldn't be a monster. Anything I saw who he was inside. George made me now and always love him for all his cracks also. We also made each other our own brilliant pieces of art from the cracks and repairs. Unfortunately, not all cracks can be. In my forgiveness, George is my greatest lesson. I think maybe her hand is starting to hurt at this point because it's like... Blah, blah, blah. In my forgiveness, George is the greatest lesson and will forever be a part of me. I think of him every day and still speak to him when alone on the rec yard. I ask for his forgiveness and that he looks for me at the gates of heaven so I can tell him how sorry I am endlessly and that I never stop loving him in all of it and still. See, I think remember I told you guys that there was like a part of her speech where I was like, it's not bad. I think had she probably just done page like the first couple pages, I think. So talking about the cracks, talking about the pottery, the gold, and then listing, like when she starts attacking everyone, get rid of all that. Get rid of all of that. Attacking, George, reminding the world what George did and how George learned from his family, and then going after everyone else. Like all this, delete. This is like what, 20 pages of deletions right here? Because I think she talked about the pottery, the cracks, and how she has been like a fucking phoenix who rises from the fucking ashes. And then talked about how, she still thinks about George and how she says that she's sorry and that she hopes George forgives him. I think it could have been pretty decent. However, that's not the Sarah Boone. That's not the true Sarah Boone. The true Sarah Boone is all the vitriol shit in the middle that she just had to include because she wants to make sure she gets the last word. She wants to make everyone know that I am the victim. How dare you guys? How dare you guys say that I'm guilty? How dare you judge for putting me in prison for the rest of my life? All right, I lost my spot. I think it was around here. It could have been decent, but that would have been reflective of who she is. When I first came to jail, I put my mat under my bed and cried all day and night for months, and only falling asleep from being so exhausted with grief. I wrote him letters. I wrote his family, his daughter apologizing and asking for their forgiveness, but due to fear that my life or sons would be jeopardized. I did not send. I am sorry. I cannot begin to fathom any other grief and sadness. Forgive me. Almost everything reminds me of him. Seeing my stab wound every day, especially, it truly reminds me all I really did live through. So it's like crazy that she does this flip flop. It's like, hey, family, like, you know what? I'm sorry. Forgive me. But you know what? Every time when I look at my leg, I see that fucking stab wound that he left me and that giant scar on my leg. Remember that time when like he stabbed me? Yeah. It's like these forgiveness. I don't know. It's like she just doesn't know how to, or she doesn't want to, I think. I think it's a one thing. It's like, I don't want to. I want to make sure I remind them that they're wrong. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. Is it kind of like a double-edged sword or something like that? I don't know. George haunts me. He is everywhere. I believe I do still love him, think of him, and miss him. His laugh the most. Like, this could have been really good too, right? In my heart, I know he is with me and understands that this tragedy was not intentional. I hope everyone can, his family foremost. I didn't mean for this to happen. Okay? Please wholeheartedly know that, and always, I would never. It's so hard to. It's so hard to because she spends so much time with all the diatribes, you know, she spent so much time attacking everyone and reminding everyone piece of shit, you know, George was to her. And then she says this, it's like, there's no way anyone's going to believe you. It's like so many, you get a lot of mixed feelings reading this, listening to this, if you're listening to it live. Forgive me, George. Forgive me, Torres family. Forgive me, Judge Cranick, for the entire planet. Forgive me. After you just attacked everyone, I graciously and humbly ask for consideration. And it's funny because she says that she forgives them first. You know, oh, I forgive you first before even saying sorry. It's like, let me forgive everyone first and talk about how shitty they are. And then at the very end, okay, you know what? I'll give you like 3 lines of I'm sorry, forgive me. And then that's all you get. I graciously and humbly ask for consideration for forgiveness to be extended instead of judgment, for reconciliation and restoration for all of us to move forward. My apologies is profuse and ceaseless. Allow me to please brush off the muck, wipe the blood off my face, and fix the cuts in my skin. I ask for understanding what really happened for how long, for second chances, repentance, and redemption to advocate for all the domestic violence survivors to help them overcome, heal, and still hope, always to make their voices heard, to confidently walk with all these scars on the outside and inside. Like, this could have been really good too, right? To help them not ever become a casualty of domestic violence and so many others, to stop the abuse and maltreatment before it is too late. There's always hope. You can survive. In my soft-spoken conclusion, I ask this: would I be the darling mother, celebrated woman of the year, if it were I who died? Again, she's saying to like, well, you know, even though I'm the one who killed George, he could have killed me. You know, I would have been the true victim. Like, yeah, but that's not what happened, right? Let's look at reality here. The reality is that George died. You did it. How many daughters, mothers, sisters, aunts, grandmothers, nieces, and friends would have been because they did? I am a survivor. Okay, here's another page. 2 more pages. Learn to do good, seek justice, rebuke the oppressor, defend the fatherless, plead for the widow. Isaiah. All-encompassing, protect the abused. Sarah Boone. Okay. Yeah, that's that's Ms. Boone. Let's see what happens for her appeal. Let's see if she is granted a new trial. Let's see if she does get a new trial. Let's see if Mr. Owens will still represent her. Oh, boy. But you know what? I feel like this may sound terrible, but it's like I'm almost used to this. All the attacks at everyone. I'm like, I don't know. I'm like used to this. Like, okay, like her attacking the jury. Yeah. I feel like, you know, we would have seen that coming. Her attacking the detectives. Yeah. Would have seen this coming. The judge, you know, the world. Yeah. Seen this coming. I will say this is the only positive thing that I will say about this letter is that I am very, very glad that she did not attack her defense team. I'm glad that she decided not to go after Mr. Owens, you know, the other 2 attorneys, the assistants, and I'm glad that she didn't try to throw them under the bus. So I'm glad that she was happy with her defense team. That's the only positive thing I got to say. Oh, God. All right, so now that we got this out of the way, tomorrow we will focus on Karen Reed and we will focus on Corey Richards. Karen Reed has her hearing in the morning. I'm not going to cover it live. I'm going to cover it maybe a little bit behind. And then Corey Richards, her hearing is never streamed live. Basically, when the hearing is over, they will have the video pushed out and then we can watch it then. So I don't know what time that's going to be available, but Corey Richards, you know, Corey Richards is the other person. I'm just like, she's a very interesting person to cover. Oh boy. The more that we learn from her case, the more that we learn. We do have some stuff with Corey Richards that we're gonna go over. We got transcripts from her jailhouse calls. We've got transcripts from the body cam, and yeah, probably go over her emails again. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. I don't know if this video's gonna post today. I think it will. We'll see how long it takes. All right, y'all have a good night. Take care. Yeah. Hopefully that'll be the end of Sarah Boone for a little bit. You know, because I feel like Sarah Boone, a lot of the stuff that we have to say about her, it's I don't know, it's just a broken record at this point, right? There's not really too much that I'm gonna really add. Aside from some of the shock that I have, you know, you'd be really surprised because, you know, with Sarah Boone, it's like you think there'd be no more shock, but like it really does get worse. It does get worse and worse and worse and worse. All right, Sarah Boone, I wish you the best. All right, guys, have a good night. Take care, and I will see you guys tomorrow morning. Bye.